Right. Morning. Welcome, everybody. So this morning, apparently the boss has got lost. So she's told me to tell all of you to get lost, and that probably just ends the conversation right there. But no, all jokes aside, we are talking about so equip yourself to face the big challenges to get yourself into trouble. Now, this was Ed's suggestion, so I'm not too sure, Ed, we're going to have to pick up with you on that one. So not that you risk your life. Something like getting lost on the moors. And for those of us who don't know what moors are, we'll have to get Ed to translate that for us as well. So, Ed, on that note, I'm just going to tuck you into the boggy moors and see if you can get lost.
Yeah.
Okay. Come on.
This came out of the sort of, I think my comment about putting stuff in the fortitude bank, and it's important that we have stuff put in us. And what I tell a lot of runners is that if you're going to do big events, you're going to go through times of doubt, you're going to go through times of difficulty. So the best way to cope with those is to experience them first. And one thing I do is tell people to get lost. And moors, if you don't know, are a bit like the bush really in a way, but there's no bushes. They're just large expanses of grassland, normally hilly, very difficult to navigate on because there are no real features. And very often, maybe the fog or the mist will come down and you can't see where you're going. So I tell people, go out, and in the UK, there aren't that many places you can get really lost because, for example, Dartmoor, it's only 50 or 80 kilometers from one end to the other. But I tell people, go out, find yourself perhaps a situation where you're in a place where maybe it's within a square of roads, so that you know if you just go in one direction, eventually after 10 miles or so, you'll come to the road. But go out and get lost on purpose, because then you'll realize it's not that much of a problem. And especially if you're an ultra runner, if you just keep running, you'll find yourself, whether that's physically or spiritually. And I think if you have those sort of experiences, being lost isn't a panic. You know you've got it within yourself to get out. And as soon as I said it, I thought that, I think it's a quote from the Bible. I once was lost, but now I'm found. And I think there's a profound sort of sense of joy at being not lost. I think I remember once, very early on, I talked about when I first started volunteering for this charity, One World Action. It was the first time I felt I belonged and I'd found myself. So I think, it is experience, and it's the same with anything, isn't it? If you suffer a personal loss or some sort of disaster, you're lost. I remember when my father died, my whole compass had been taken away from me. And I didn't know what direction to head in, where to go, and I was lost. And then I found myself. When I got divorced, again, all my bearings had gone. And I was lost. But I think because of those experiences, and some of the times I've been lost have been quite funny. I was doing a race, which was probably about 65k. I was training for comrades. I got lost. I came to this road junction and there was a marshal standing there. I thought, it's strange, he's not pointing which way to go. I said, come on, Marshal, which way do I go? He says, I don't know, I'm marshalling a bike race. So not everyone's going to tell you the right directions to go. And in the end, I found a little old lady in her garden, and she was pruning her roses. And I said, how do I get to, and I named the village where the race ended. And she said, oh dear, she said, that's miles away. And anyhow, she told me how to get there. But of course, she told me on the road, and it was an off-road race. So I followed her directions, and eventually I found in the fields near me a whole group of runners. So I thought, okay, I'll join them, which was great. So I think you can very often get help from people you don't expect to get help from. A little old lady trimming her roses isn't necessarily who you expect to help you to get to the end of an ultra marathon. And you need to ask for help. And I think that's something men aren't very good at. And especially in the old days when we used to rely on road maps, you know, men driving a car would never ask for directions. Well, it never happens in the UK. But it's interesting, isn't it? We don't mind getting told where to go by a sat nav. We don't want to get told where to go by asking someone for directions. So those are my thoughts on the subject. I think, you know, getting lost is important because they're journeys of discovery. You find new things when you get lost. If you stay on the same path, you get the same stuff. So I like to get lost and discover new wonders, whether that's wonders of nature, whether that's wonders of people. Getting lost is a fantastic experience, and I think we should do it more often, as long as you're safe and you're not going to be a burden on others.
Great, thanks. Yeah, that all depends on who you ask for help, I suppose, and what kind of help you're asking for. But yeah, thanks very much for that. I think you wove that story very nicely to kick us off, so appreciate that. So, Laura, you have been lost.
Sure. In that the GPS systems, the computerized GPS in the car and the vehicles, all have female. I just noticed that. Well, in 2001, I got lost. I was training for a marathon. Ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch. Mein Deutsch ist nicht so gut. And I used Volksmarsches to train. And I lived in a town that was so, the town didn't even have a stop sign. It had a yield sign. And the bakery, the bakery was on wheels. And I remember I didn't speak the language. And as an American going over there, trained as I was, socialized as I was, oh, I don't speak English. I'm in Germany. They speak German. As an arrogant American moving over there, I thought I wasn't, just naive maybe. I get lost. I have no idea. I don't speak the language. I don't have a compass. Wow. And I don't know how many miles I was in and I was lost. And I remember speaking with this farmer and gentleman, very gentle, a gentleman. Just again, like I just wanted to tell me where, and just the frustration and really lost. And I find it so interesting how apropos that 20 years ago, wow, it's 20 years ago, that was the most sacred point of my life. I found myself because I was away from all the expectations and and how interesting when we get lost, sometimes we can find ourselves. Lost and you know where exactly where you're at. And have you were at, but was 8, 9 years later, moving back from something that felt so comfortable back to what was, to the place from which I completely lost. Couldn't run anymore. Ultimately, and kept running and running and running, losing myself. I think we run away from who we're meant to be sometimes, trying to be in the rat race or the cat race, trying to get to some place, because the only place to be is where we're at, because we're human beings, not human doings. And ultimately, another 5 years later, running from what? Running from ourselves, because that's really scary sometimes. If can't sit with the self. Because then if you sit with the self, then that's really scary because you're lost. Wow. And then having something happen where, like COVID, I don't know what's going on. All I know is all I can do is just sit. I can't go anywhere. I can't run. I mean, I guess we could, maybe in trouble with the law, maybe, I don't know. And what a beautiful place it is, because the only place that I can go is right here and be, because that's where I am. And now I'm finding myself with y'all here today now, and I'm not running. I'm being pulled towards, not being pushed at. It's like feeling caught in the wake of the mothership and not forcing, not being pushed towards, just being drawn along with. And it feels comfortable and safe and no longer running. Not lost, but found right here still.
Great, thanks, Laura, and yeah, it's good, great to have you found in our wisdoms chat. So we appreciate you being here. But some great stories there as well. So good. Right, Dawn, welcome. I think first time on Wisdom Chats. Not a stranger, but certainly a first time here. So yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that topic.
Thanks, Arvin. Thanks. Yeah, I'd love to come to more of these, but I work quite late, and then when I get up, I've got a lot to do. So to be on a computer so early, well, I normally am, but not on a Zoom. But Arvin, thank you. Yeah, I think it's definitely has is value in what it says, because I think it's human nature to be lost. You know, we all go through trials and tribulations on a continuous basis, and at the end of the day, it's really digging deep within yourself and letting go of that fear that stops you from progressing. And I think these avenues that we go down that throw us off course are actually there to teach us something. So digging deep within yourself and getting rid of that fear factor, because that fear factor just sends you on another tangent. So, and then you just go into like a spiral. So it's the same with this COVID situation. You know, if you're not focusing and there's so much happening around you falling apart, where do you go? What do you focus on? So you've just got to pull yourself together and actually dig deep and say, okay, I've got to look at this realistically, put things in perspective, and then focus on a direction that you're comfortable with and that you are not comfortable with, because it's also about learning. So, you know, just like my experience with the COVID situation, that, I mean, I'm not really PC tech savvy. So to go down this path, I've learned a lot in the last year. I've never sat in front of a computer for so long in my life, because my industry was always seeing people on site. For the people that don't know me, I'm in the exhibition industry, so I have my own business for over 20 years. So with the COVID coming along, it just destroyed that. And I spent my days seeing clients, being on site, making sure the projects happen. And my job was never 9 to 5. It was weekends and late into the nights. So when this happened, I mean, it also, you know, it made me, you know, dig deeper. And now I've had to learn a lot on the PC. So it's been a big challenge, but a learning curve. And you do make mistakes, but you know what, the mistakes make you grow, and you learn from them. So it's not to be scared off by those challenges that you're facing.
Great, thanks, Dawn. Yeah, and I can definitely vouch for Dawn's stick-to-itiveness, because she certainly put her head down and got stuck in and done all sorts of different things since COVID happened. So an example to us all. So Jasper, you were looking a bit lost a bit earlier in the conversation, so I'm not sure if you've found yourself and come back to us yet, or whether you're still lost.
Morning, everyone. Yeah, I'm sitting here in the office of a guest house. So we have people coming in and out, and then I have to deal with the situation. So that might appear on the screen as looking lost, and maybe that's a good starting point. So what is the appearance to other people are not necessarily the truth, just because they're busy with some other things. But I was thinking of Laura's comment on, you know, it's more difficult now to get lost with these GPS stuff, except if you put the wrong information in. And I think that's maybe an angle to pick up on. Do we have the right information? So you can, and it comes back to your favorite thing, is it efficient or effective? You know, the GPS is very efficient, but it's only as effective as the information we put into it. And sometimes a spelling of a street, or putting in the wrong suburb or something can really take you to totally different places, even to different continents, because the same street tends to appear in different continents. So I think in one's own life is the more critical thing is the starting information, knowing where it is that you want to go. Then I can't remember the context in which it was said, but it was something about, call it an arrogant foreigner, being rude to a local and say, how do I get to that place? And the local just looked at him and he said, you can't get to there from here, and walked away. So sometimes, you know, you also have to be in the right place at the right time to start the journey. Otherwise, it's also quite difficult. And then I was thinking of stuff that I read, and you know, I love watching the Bear Grylls program with his survival skills and stuff like that. But it's often said that one has a tendency, if you're lost in nature, that because you're not equally strong in both legs, that you tend to end up walking in circles. So you do find yourself, but you find yourself back where you started. But then I was also thinking about, is that so bad? Because much of what we say is, I found myself, is I've got back to the place where I found myself, because we got sidetracked with all the distractions of life and things that get you busy, but it's not you. And the Hebrews versus the Greeks think on everything as linear, moving only in one direction, whereas the Hebrews think everything is holistic and move in circles. So it's almost like you start, but then you come back to a point and you go to a higher level, but you keep going up in circles. But with it's the same you, it's the same life, it's the same circumstances. You just have deeper understanding of what's busy happening. Yeah, so with all that rambling, I wish you guys, on the one hand, I wish you get lost so that you can find yourself again. But at the same time, finding yourself again, coming back to the same point, you're never at the same point. You're at a deeper understanding or a higher level of knowledge. And you're more equipped for the next round. And I think the round says you're going to walk around the whole thing again, but you'll come back to it again at a higher place. So yeah, enjoy your day.
But yeah, the GPS thing is a funny thing. I remember once I used it. I tend not to use it, but once I used it when we were going to a new place, and I was driving along this long straight road with no turns or anything like that, and it suddenly started telling me to turn left. And there was nowhere to turn left. I would have gone through a dense a ditch and a fence and farmers' land and all that sort of thing. And it had got itself completely wrong. But so you can't always trust these things, even if it does know your destination, it might not get you to the right place. And of course, in South Africa, we've got lots of duplicate place names, never mind street names. And we've also got some very interesting ones. So, you can go to Belfast or Bethlehem, when you're in South Africa, but, they're not the Belfast and Bethlehem that other people in the world might know. So, yeah, it could be an interesting exercise. So, Kamal, welcome back. Good to have you back this morning. Love to hear your thoughts on the topic.
Yeah. So hi, everyone. Hello, everyone. So good morning, and good morning from India as well. Yeah. So I hope everyone knows about me. But I'll just start with the topic what we are discussing. Like it's a lost, but this is opportunity. So we can be lost everywhere. We can be lost like on the way while traveling from one location to another. We can be lost while using any of the tool, any software. And if I map this lost and found with my domain, it's like I'm using some application and I get lost because that design of that application which I am using, it's not up to the mark. it is not mapped with the user intention or the usability of that app, it's like lost. And if that is a lost for any software development, then becomes an opportunity. I'll take an example. I'm using a grocery app and I get lost how to order the groceries, how many items I need to order, and how do I pay. I get lost. But that point of time, and a new idea came in my mind. This is the app I'm using, and being a technical person, I'm facing the issue, but there are a lot of non-technical users in the world who are using the same app, but again they will be again getting lost, and they're also facing the issues. They are not able to order what they want to do. That's become an idea. Means here we come to know, I got lost in the app, and that became an opportunity to bring some idea into the place to the market. And that's the opportunity for me, and that is again some value I am adding to my customers, my business. And in my career, in my life, I have been lost many times. I lost in a train, I lost while traveling for my exam, but there was someone who was there to help me. I don't know who was that person, but he helped me. Because and that help, when you get, it's like it's all about your thinking. If you're thinking positive, like you are get lost, don't worry, don't panic. Again, God is there and he will be helping you. He will send someone to help you. And if you get lost, don't panic. Again, I will say, every stage, every point of your life, someone is there to help you. And while helping also, he will give you some opportunity. And that's my learning. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Kamal. Yeah, I think definitely if you're open to that help, there'll always be someone who can put out a hand and help. So, Trevor, can I help you?
Yes, please just make out a check, send it to me. You've
Sure,
got my address.
I'll fax it through.
Yeah, don't let it get lost. Now, there was something that Kamal touched on there that struck a little chord with me. I must admit, when this topic came up, I didn't think I could have anything to contribute because I don't understand this word lost. And I was trying to work out why I don't understand it. Stop laughing at me, Dawn. And I think it's because I'm actually nomadic at heart. So I'm the most unlikely of individuals to ever have got married because ideally I should have been a Bedouin in the desert somewhere that just follows the stars. Because I don't mind getting lost. In fact, I love it. And my family had to grow with me as we traveled overseas. We would have something of a plan, but it wasn't a finite plan of where we had to go. And I remember we'd booked into a place called Mitterfels in Germany. And we were going to go there for a skiing holiday. And so one of the ways to get there, they left it up to me to get them there into Germany. So I took them through to Antwerp in Belgium. And we arrived there and I said, don't worry, we jump in a car, we hired a car. 6,000 kilometers later, we hit Mitterfels in Germany. And it was the most glorious trip ever because we didn't have a plan. We just sort of asked people, okay, now where's Germany? Now where do we go? How do we go? I mean, we're South Africans. And where do we go from here? Where do we go from there? We saw football clubs. We went to beer festivals that we never ever knew. We went into back streets. I think I must have exchanged drug sales with, it was the most amazing trip ever. I don't know that my wife and kids thoroughly enjoyed us getting lost. But to me, that's exciting. And I think lost equals the opportunity to discover new things, which is life. Have something of an idea of where you want to go And I think just thinking of being nomadic in the desert, how would we have got around in the days in the desert? We would have looked up at the stars, and then you would have tried to follow a path along the stars. And if you think about that in various cities of the world, if you had to follow the stars, imagine the trips that you would take. And then I have to turn around and say, listen, that whole attitude was carried forward in things like the Doozy Canoe Marathon, where you wouldn't be able to actually map out exactly what your route was going to be. You knew that you had to get from Maritzburg to Durban. It wasn't along Ed's road that he had mapped out. You had different paths that you could actually follow. And every single doozy that I did, and I did 10 of those as well, was a completely different course and a completely different race every single year. But we knew that we wanted to get from Maritzburg to Durban, and it was mainly downhill, and each journey had its different thrills. And then if I can turn around and say, I was talking about this trip that we did into Germany. Just before lockdown, we went over to the States, and we were in New York, and also in Orlando, Florida, Disney World for a couple of weeks. And exactly the same thing happened. We landed in New York. We didn't have an itinerary. I used to get up, my girls, they would sleep late. They like dawn. They would sleep till 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. But I would be up at 3:30, 4 o'clock. And I put the running shoes on and I went out. I didn't go running around, but I just went out walking the streets of New York. I never got accosted. No one sold me any drugs. It was the most glorious couple of hours just getting lost around Manhattan. So I don't understand this concept, lost. I think it is just exciting times. And then when Kamal turned around and said, well, look, there are so many people out there to help you. Yeah, you just stop and ask a few questions. Some lead you up the garden path, but maybe the garden path has got roses. If you had to ask Ed, he will direct you to the moors. Just don't ask Ed for directions.
All right. Thanks, Trevor. Yeah, after that, I'm completely lost. I don't know where to go from here. So, yeah, I think it's an interesting thing, and I mean, sometimes it can be scary. I can remember silly little things, going into a city center where you're unfamiliar with it, parking in an underground parking lot, and coming out onto the street and finding your sense of direction completely distorted, and then trying to work out. I mean, I've done that once or twice in my early days. You eventually come out of that parking lot and get onto the street, and you turn completely the wrong way because your internal GPS has been confused by the subterranean levels of the parking lot, going round and round in circles underground. Yeah, and talking about that, early part of my career, working career, I spent underground. I started off on the gold mines here in South Africa, working 3.2 kilometers underground in the gold mines. Not a pleasant place to get lost in, I must be perfectly honest. Fortunately, not too difficult to find your way out because most of the tunnels seem to lead back to the lift stations eventually. But it can be a fun environment down there. I can remember the one time I was having to work in what's called an incline shaft, which is a shaft that they drill between 2 levels underground, and I had to take over from somebody who'd left to go out, and I went into this shaft. It was a 2 meter diameter shaft. There was a chain that was connected to a platform about 80 meters up this shaft. It was meant to be going up at about 45 degrees. And the guy who'd been there before me had got his bearings completely wrong and missed the breakthrough point into the tunnel above. So the shaft was going steeper and steeper, and when they were trying to find the level above, and so you're climbing up this dark tunnel. There's no lights. Only light is the light in your helmet that you know, you can use to try and work out where you're going. And then I was climbing up this particular shaft, as I say, you know, using this chain to haul myself up towards a platform that had been erected right at the top, which you could actually then stand on to then had to mark out the points where the people who were doing the drilling would drill to place the dynamite to blast the rock to break up into the next section. And as I was going up there was someone on the platform, and he didn't realize I was coming up, and he was cleaning things up there. And next minute you just hear these rocks coming screaming down this tunnel in the pitch darkness, and you've got to try and then pick them out with your headlight to see where they are, and see if you can avoid things. So yeah, maybe not getting lost, but certainly found myself there and realized perhaps that wasn't the career for me. And not long after that, I decided to switch from mining to computers. So, I mean, you know, if you want to get lost, you know, switch from mining to computers. I mean, it seems like a logical step for me. So started a whole new career a year or so after that, and decided it was far better to sort of die in the sunshine than 3.2 kilometers underground. So yeah, maybe that's got nothing to do with getting lost, but certainly I found myself in computers, and it's been a career for me for almost 40 years now. So yeah, sometimes these strange turns take you in directions you never expected, and you find yourself doing something that actually suits your personality and your mentality. So from there, where do we go from here? So who's got our thought for a topic tomorrow after all of that getting lost and getting found? Trevor. Okay, all right. What would you like to talk about tomorrow, Trevor?
If no one else has got a topic, the one that I think we should do is make excuses.
Make excuses. Jasper said something when he was talking that he said should be examined. I can't remember what it was, but he said, "Oh, we should examine that."
What's that?
Something that Jasper said when he was talking. He said, "Oh, we should examine that." I think it might have been around what people tell us or something. I can't remember what it was, but I know he had an idea, and he said we should examine that.
Okay, well, we're completely lost now.
Yeah.
So,
and Jasper's looking totally confused.
Yeah, he's totally bemused. He can't remember what he said either. So are we making excuses? So we're making excuses tomorrow. Jasper, unless you can remember what you said that was so profound, and you can change the topic tomorrow anyway. We're just making an excuse that we didn't know what we were talking about.
No, I think it. Thanks for Ed for listening to what I said, but I'm trying to think what was the profound thing. So I might have said something about the GPS is only as correct as the information that you put in.
So yeah, that was it.
Correct information.
That was it. That was the thing.
And how interesting it is that the GPS is all female. The stereotype might have a hard time accepting or asking for directions is from a woman.
Yeah, it's a bit of subliminal programming there.
Yeah, it's marketing.
Yeah, well, good. All right, so where does that put us? What are we talking about? Are we talking about putting in the correct information, or just making excuses that we thought we had the correct information?
We could always do a Trevor.
Yeah, we can do it, Trevor. Yeah. Okay.
I think excuses is a good one, actually. We can do excuses. That'd be quite nice.
I'm going to make an excuse to be here tomorrow.
Okay. All right. You do that, Laura. Yeah. Set your alarm clock. Yeah. All right, folks. Don't make any excuses. We expect to see you back here tomorrow. On the dot, on the time. Welcome. Welcome back tomorrow. Thanks for being here today. And I'm completely lost now. So we're making an excuse, and we'll end this conversation. But have a great day further. See you tomorrow. Cheers.
You can always come and join us later, couldn't you, on the UK one?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we're on in 25 minutes again.
Oh,
so,
right.
Yeah, we're on back in 25 minutes, and then we're back again at 3 3 p.m. my time this afternoon, 8 a.m. your time, Laura.
I have meeting. I'll be with my coach.
All right.
I'll see you in 25.
Cheers.
Bye.